I believe we're getting word right now that Sky News in Australia is covering this live. We may have some updates. Let's listen in for just a moment of how this is playing out.
I've spent so much time in recent years. I bring my kids to come and play down here like so many others do as well. And there wasn't just that, the sights that I'll never forget of the death and the chaos, but also these incredible images of Bondi's famous lifeguards.
Welcome everyone back to the channel. The hero bystander disarms mass shooter and stop terrorist attack in Australia. Caught on camera. Check this out.
Just ordinary citizens doing their work. And as I mentioned earlier too, you always hope that when you're faced with a circumstance like that, that you would do the work that's required to help people, to stop a gunman, to save a life. And you hope you would do that, but if you're faced with that circumstance, you might not be sure that you'd be able to do that. You would hope you would, but as we saw this afternoon, when people were faced with that circumstance, they went headfirst into the situation to do their job as humans, and that was quite remarkable to see, I have to say, despite so much chaos around, so many broken hearts, and now so many broken lives. We're going to take a quick break, folks, and we will return with more, though. Thank you so much for your company. Our live reporting from this disaster, this dark day in Australia's history, will continue after this short break.
You just saw there the video, a clip of the video that we've been talking about that has been circulating online, where you had the shooter firing on Australians, Jews celebrating Hanukkah on the beach, firing on them, and a bystander crouching behind a car coming up and tackling the shooter and wrestling the gun away from the shooter.
Yeah, and that report there, you could hear in that Sky News reporter just the angst and the sorrow and the amount of emotion that the community in Sydney and Bondi Beach are feeling. It's just about 45 minutes after midnight Sydney time there.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's just pause and appreciate the sheer pure guts of that bystander. Crouching behind the car and then tackling a shooter and wrestling a gun away. That is not just bravery. That is pure and instinctual heroism. It's the kind of action that separates the talkers from the doers, the keyboard warriors from the real-life gladiators. And then, notice the target. Jews celebrating Hanukkah. This wasn't some random act of violence, everyone. This was targeted, deliberate, and steeped in hatred that is becoming increasingly alarming common by the day. It is a stark reminder that even places like Australia, where they try to disarm the good guys, the bad guys will always find a way to inflict their terror. The hero didn't wait for permission. He didn't call a community meeting. He saw evil and acted. That is the kind of spirit we need to champion, not just mourn the outcome. The misery and pain are real. Absolutely. But so is the inspiring courage that saves countless lives that day. Is very real.
And you did see that video, as you pointed out, Charlie, of this bystander. Trey alluding to, I am seeing reporting, Fox has not confirmed that Good Samaritan may also have been actually injured in the attempt to stop that. And that will be an interesting
Trey said
part of this story.
They will hopefully be able to track down that guy.
Yeah.
And we can give
by
more
the way,
information
not just a
about
Good Samaritan. That's a hero. That's an absolute hero. Tackling the guy with the gun, the terrorist with the gun, wrestling the gun away, and then attempting to shoot at him. Although it appears he had escaped and then was captured after.
And this right
is
here,
coordinated. I mean, you had two guys. You had two men who we presume, as our last guest, Mary Eisen, said, came in a car and possibly had other weapons in the car.
And the footage we were just showing shows that pedestrian walkway that appears to go between over to that busy highway that our witness said that people had to flee across to get out of the line of fire. And that bridge, that elevated bridge right there, is where one of the suspects was firing from. And then the other one had gone down, was on a grassy area along the beach. And that's where he got tackled. We've seen other video of what appears to be the shooter, one of the shooters, perhaps the deceased shooter, who is lying among shell casings there on that bridge, which leads you to think that that's probably the second shooter who is deceased, and the other one was maybe detained.
And you mentioned the logistics of this shooting and where it took place. Someone who certainly knows a lot about understanding those things is Israeli Special Operations veteran Aaron Cohen, who joins us now. Aaron, this was clearly, by admission by the Australian officials, a targeted attack. But speak to us specifically about this target, Bondi Beach.
So there's a couple of things to unpack here. I agree and disagree with Miri on certain things, your previous guest. Here's where I'm at with this. I do believe that this was a lone wolf attack. I think these were lone wolves. But when we talk about lone wolves, we typically tend to picture isolated individuals who are acting on their own. And in reality, many of these so-called lone actors, guys, are not operationally directed, but they are ideologically influenced and encouraged and validated by America's enemies, our foreign adversaries. And I want to talk about Iran.
This is where it gets spicy, and frankly, where the mainstream media often drops the ball. Lone wolf isn't a convenient label, isn't it? It let us pretend that these acts are isolated incidents, random occurrences, not part of a larger and more sinister web. But as the expert rightly points out, ideologically influenced and encouraged and validated by America's enemies is the key phrase here. When you have state sponsors of terror like Iran actively pumping out agenda and propaganda, amplifying hate, and giving a digital high five to anyone who acts on it, you don't need direct orders. You just need a susceptible mind and a steady stream of validation. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire and then pretending you are surprised when it explodes. This isn't just about some guy with a gun. It is about a global ideological war being waged in the digital space, recruiting unstable people to do their dirty work and to ignore the puppet masters, the foreign adversaries, pulling the strings, is to willfully blind ourselves to the true nature of the threat. It is time we connected the dots, everyone, and stop pretending that these lone wolves are truly alone.
They have been one of the most active state sponsors of this model, spiking our algorithm, tossing that rage bait up, hijacking that comment section. And so while you might have many peaceful, quiet Muslims who live in Australia, they don't need to task, Iran doesn't need to task an attacker directly. They just need to hand someone a weapon in that ideology and allow them to believe that it's okay to attack Jews on Hanukkah. And so I believe that Iran is seeding this propaganda, amplifying the anti-Semitic narratives to glorify this violence and create that digital ecosystem where unstable and aggrieved individuals like these two shooters are nudged towards that action, and that's recruitment. And that's what I think we just saw play out right here. And I think we're seeing the same type of behavioral, ideologically grievance-motivated, online, digitally influenced attack with the Brown shooter as well. That might not be Iran, but it's the internet that is driving these lone wolves to that operational open fire stage. So that's where I'm at with the digital side of this thing with both of these.
Aaron, we want to play for you that video that we saw on Sky News that Charlie was just talking about. We now are able to show you this. So this is a video of a bystander, a good Samaritan, it appears, that you see coming from around the car, seems to tackle the gunman there. And then as it goes, he's sort of holding them off. And then just off to the right of your screen, there is apparently another of the attackers that reportedly may have shot this Good Samaritan. But as you watch this video, what do you make of it?
Well, I saw a civilian taking action, moving from passive to reactive. Obviously, it looks like it was one of the guests. It looks like it could have been one of the Chabad members. I can't tell if he's got tzitzi or tatilim, or if he's a member of that particular gathering for Hanukkah at the beach there. But he moved into action. He's not reacting. He's not waiting. You know, when you've got two forces and one person is more aggressive. First of all, you had the element of surprise. Came up around that vehicle, got on the individual, was able to strip the weapon away, may have some training, may not, but pushing action and being aggressive is the only way to deal with somebody who's actively engaging and firing a weapon. He took great risk to himself, didn't have to. That individual is a hero and needs to be applauded, and saved who knows how many dozens of lives because of what he did. So obviously it's a very, very big deal here. But guys, I want to talk about where we're at with all this stuff. We're in this reactive space, whether it's Australia, whether it's Brown. The problem here is that we don't have 2025 solutions, or we have 2005 solutions for 2025 threats. We've got all of this digital. We've got all of these adversaries.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We are trying to fight 21st century threats with 20th century tools. It's like trying to put out a wildfire with a garden hose. Utterly ineffective and frankly dangerous. Our adversaries are leveraging every digital tool available, weaponizing social media, and spreading their propaganda at lightning speed. Meanwhile, our institutions are often stuck in bureaucratic molasses, reacting instead of proactively defending. This expert is absolutely right. We are in a reactive space, and that is getting people killed. We can't afford to be playing catch-up when lives are on the line. We need innovative, forward-thinking solutions that understand the digital landscape and anticipate threats before they materialize. This means empowering law enforcement with the intelligence tools they need, not tying their hands with outdated regulations or political correctness. It is time for a reality check. The world has changed, and our defense strategies must change with it. If we don't adapt, we will continue to be on the back foot, mourning tragedies instead of preventing them. Let's get smart, let's get proactive, and stop bringing a knife to a gunfight, especially when the gun is digital.
Iran, China, CCP, making everybody absolutely nuts online, and we have to start getting in front of these threats. This reactive model is getting people killed. The only way to get in front of these threats, 80% of these attackers leak online. The only way to get in front of these threats is to make sure that law enforcement is getting this intelligence upstream. And so we need to be looking at models like Gideon, my platform, so we can get law enforcement that pre-attack. Guys, every one of these attackers leak online. We need to start finding the signal. And that's where I come out with all this.
So, Aaron, when you look at that video right there, you can see the shooter, you see the gun that he's using. Obviously, Australia has had one of the most aggressive programs in the world for confiscating weapons from civilians, from regular citizens. What can you tell us from looking at that video about the weapons, or at least this weapon that we're seeing here that were used by these attackers?
Yeah, forgive me. My camera's just over here, and I'm looking at the footage. So I see shotguns. First of all, there's multiple weapons that were brought to the scene here. I looked at some of the shell casings that were on the ground at the bridge. It looked like it was some 30-06. I saw some shotgun shells, some 12-gauge casings. There was multiple weapons that were brought. There were also ammo dump pouches that were brought so these guys could keep firing and reloaded. And it sounds like there was 50 or 60 shots that were taken. This was premeditative. These guys were taking their time. They were there to murder. And when I look at all the weapons that are spread out here, what it tells me from the weapons side here is that Australia, while it has some of the strictest gun laws in the world, shotguns, hunting shotguns or sports shotguns are also difficult to get, but they're a little bit easier. But it tells you that these guys are going to get whatever weapons they can.
Right.
Outlawing weapons is not going to keep these guys from opening fire. And whether they're loading shotguns and they're pumping, and it's tough to tell from the video, the fact is they're still able to get weapons even though it's restricted. So it just goes to show you the laws don't work.
Yeah.
But thank God that guy was able to jump on that weapon and stop that shooter.
And there it is, everyone. The mic drop moment. Australia with some of the strictest gun laws in the world. And what happened? The terrorists attacked them. These terrorists still got their hands on multiple weapons, shotguns, ammunition, ammo pouch, the whole terrifying kit and everything. It is almost comical if it weren't so tragic. The laws don't work. It is a simple truth that gun control advocates consistently ignore. You can't outlaw a weapon until you are blown off the face. But a determined criminal, a terrorist, doesn't care about your laws. They are going to get what they need to commit their atrocities. All you do by disarming law-abiding citizens is making them soft targets, unable to defend themselves when evil inevitably comes knocking. The whole tragedy is a case study in the failure of restrictive gun laws. The only thing that stopped the carnage wasn't a law. It was a brave person who, by some miracle, managed to disarm one of the attackers. Imagine if more good people were trained and equipped to defend themselves. The outcome could have been drastically different. Laws don't stop evil people. Good people with the means to fight back do. That's all for now, everyone. If you have enjoyed this breakdown, give it a like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. Let me know your thoughts on the story in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, always keep thinking. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.
He got it. He got the weapon, and I have no idea. But just looking at that footage, it looked like maybe he didn't know how to use the weapon because you see him just sort of struggling and not really shooting at the guy. So that's another issue that we can talk about.
Agreed. Either that, or he chose not to take his life, unlike the Islamist terrorist who opened fire on these thousands of people or hundreds of people on the beach. So either it was a moral decision to not end his life and let God sort that out, or it was he couldn't fire the weapon, or it was out of ammo. One of those. One of those.
That's right. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.